Okay, in this next part of lesson 13, we're still working in the color work sequence. We were last on this brightness clip. He wanted to go to the very last clip in the sequence here. And one of the things it's trying to talk to you about is coming up to Lumetri color, and we're going to try to work with the color wheels and balancing color in this. One of the very first things you can do is basic correction. If it's not open, click it so it drops open, and it wants us to choose auto. Notice as I choose auto, very little has changed, so that's showing us that the adjustment was too small, and clearly the problem is not with the range of contrast in the shot. So the next thing it wants us to do is open your scopes panel, right click on it. You want vector scope YUV, right click again to close the waveform one, and right click a third time, go to waveform type and make sure it says YC with no chroma. A lot of that was already set up for me since we were already using some of that in the last one. As you can see here in this scope that we have a strong bias towards blue. Visually we could see that, but now we see it graphically. We want to go into our basic color correction and come to our temperature slider, and we want to move it towards the orange, and we're going to push it all the way to 100. Notice that does help the look, but however we still have some of the blue, so there might be another way to improve it. So you'll want to expand your color wheel and match section down here, and we are going to shift some of this stuff. So we're going to start with shadows, and we're going to pull this wheel towards the orange. So remember, wherever you're pulling your color wheel towards, you're getting rid of the opposite color that's directly across from it. So as we shift that towards orange, we're going to move to our mid-tone wheel, and we're going to pull that one towards the red. So we're getting away from this more teal color with it. And be careful how far you go with your mid-tones, because you are going to be probably affecting your skin tones. And then with the highlights, you'll want to go towards blue. Okay, so now we've adjusted them to warm up the shadows and cool down the highlights. You can go back in and adjust your midtones further if you don't like where they are. But from where we were with our original look, it's very blue, to where we are now, this is a much better result if we are trying to match it to another clip. Alright, so now we're going to be looking at secondary color adjustments. We're going to open up our yellow flower sequence. So we only have 2 clips in here. The first one, make sure your playhead's on the yellow clip. You're going to expand the HSL secondary color this time. And we're going to click on set color. We're going to choose this first eyedropper. We're going to come over and we're going to click on one of the yellow petals. Now if you're holding Alt on a PC or Command on a Mac, it will give you a 5x5 pixel average, which will give you a little bit more detailed data to work with than just a single click on one pixel. That has now brought up different levels here in the H, S, and L. We can manipulate these triangles. The upper triangle that you see here represents the hard stop range of the selection, and the lower triangle you see, it extends the selection with softening that reduces the hard edges. You can experiment with moving these around some if you want. You can also come down here to refine with denoise and blur options, so you can see what that happens. And as I'm doing this, you can see that most of it turns gray, so it shows the area that we're affecting. And as this one moves up and down, it softens kind of the edges that were being affected. It's not affecting all of the petals. You may have to go in and make a different selection than what I had. As here you can see I'm blurring it so it would blend a little bit better if we did have a variance in color. Once you're happy with what you have, you could reset the temperature and tint controls and make a more subtle adjustment. I don't think mine was all that far out there, so I'm going to leave mine where it is. And then once you feel comfortable with messing with these tools here, go on to your second clip and try to adjust the sky as well. So choose somewhere as far as a blue level, and that was a single pick. We can try to drag these and see what happens. And you can see more or less data as it grays out. So that's giving us more of the blue sky on the L. And you can come in and denoise, and you can blur it a little bit. So I think that has made some effective changes as far as the sky, as far as what's chosen. And you can go down to your saturation levels down here at the bottom, and you can raise that up, and it should allow it to have more blue. So you can see it's brought out the blue in the sky there.